between teachers and students last school year. This year, there have already been 97, according to Drive West Communications, which consults with districts on the issue. The TEA sent out a memo reminding teachers and administrators to report suspected cases of inappropriate relationships. Also, the agency released a series of instructional videos about how to avoid becoming involved with students inappropriately. That's our topic this half hour, and we want to hear from you on Twitter and Facebook. Now, joining us live in the newsroom is Fox 26 legal analyst Chris Tritico, Fox 26 news analyst Mustafa Tamiz, welcome this morning, and public policy analyst Jackie Bally. How you guys doing?
Great. Good morning.
Good morning.
You know, first, let me just full disclosure here. I'm the general counsel for the Houston Federation of Teachers and several other teacher unions here in Harris County, and I deal with these cases on a daily basis in my private law practice. And let's break this down a little bit. First, I'm not exactly sure that we have an epidemic. What we have is social media. When I was growing up in the 60s and 70s, if you saw your teacher, you saw him at Kroger with your mother, and that was the only time you saw your teacher away from school. With the advent of social media and the vast rise in social media, our kids and our teachers have access to each other 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, if that's what they want. And I think that that is what we see now as this ability to talk to each other more and this closer connection that causes us to have more. Forget it. I can't talk today. Let me introduce, finally, is here joining us Mustafa Tamiz, our political analyst, and Jackie Bally, our public policy analyst. Thank you for joining us, Mustafa.
Well, you're welcome, Chris.
Apparently you can't drive very well in the morning. Is that what the problem is?
I had a safety briefing with an officer.
Outstanding. I think that what we're seeing here is safety briefing. That's great. I think that what we're seeing here is this social media that has put children and teachers together 24/7, if that's what they choose to do, is causing a more open relationship than we ever had before.
Well, what you have is people sharing private information. What will be very private before is no longer that private. You're sharing each other's lives. This particular relationship started by the student and the teacher texting each other, and eventually a picture by the teacher was texted to the student. I mean, anytime you're texting a picture, it's a lesson for all of us, right? If you're texting a nude picture to someone else, it's not private. It will be shared, and if you're a teacher or a student, it's just a wrong thing to do.
The fact that allegations where someone is texting a nude photograph to a student, we all get that. But it doesn't mean that 179 allegations doesn't mean there's 179 guilty people out there. And I think we ought to be careful not to castigate all these people, put them all into the guilty box when it's merely an accusation, hasn't been investigated or tried.
I think you said it best. I think we're not sure there's been an epidemic. There's been an increase of around 30% since 2009 of these kind of cases coming to the light. But is there really an epidemic? We don't know, because you have to go through the cases, as you said. I agree with you. I think social media is the key here. I mean, when I first became single, I had many of my former students from U of H ask me out, literally on Facebook. And they would send me private messages, and they said, hey, I noticed you changed your last name. You're now single. Can you go out with me? And I was like, really? And so they would not have access to that. They would not know that I'm now single. A lot of information that would have been private, me being their professor, now became public because they saw it on Facebook. Perfect example of what you were saying. Social media brings you closer, and they feel that they have better access to you.
Let me go to Hillary. She's monitoring our social media accounts.
Yeah, that's right. Some social media questions we've gotten are, it seems, and we were talking about this in the newsroom the other day, it seems like more women are being investigated than used to be the case. Is that true at all?
I don't have a number on that. I don't have a figure on that, but you do see a lot now in the news, more women in the news than you see men in the news, but that doesn't mean that more women are committing crimes than men are. I think it's a juicier news day when you have a very good-looking young female teacher accused of having sex with a student and some fat old man, quite frankly, Mustafa. And I think that's probably what it is. I don't see in my private law practice any distinction in numbers between men and women.
Look, the larger issue is when people that hold public trust, police officers, teachers, public officials, when they do something that's inappropriate, we all lose a little bit of confidence in the system. And we're seeing that across the board, where Americans are looking at government, looking at institutions, and feeling that there's really no one in charge, that things are not going well. And I hope that as you know, people that hold that public trust are more responsible.
You know, it's hard for a district because of First Amendment issues, it's hard for a school district to say to a teacher, you can't have a Facebook page and you can't have a Twitter account. But there should be at least personal policies on the part of teachers to say, I will not allow my students to be friends on my Twitter or my Facebook.
I actually did let my students become my friends, but if they wanted to ask specific questions about his assignments. And what I've noticed is that TEA, they're trying to implement a new policy that you can do it in a group setting.
Right.
Not one-on-one, not personal,
setting.
a class setting. If you have questions about an assignment, a test, and that's what I used to do. And I think that is appropriate. But whenever your student is sending you messages saying, hey, send me a picture of this, or you want to go out, that's inappropriate. Educators, teachers, we're put at another level, and people trust us. The parents are trusting us to guide these students. And I think parents need to start monitoring their kids' phones. I know I look at my son's phone every chance I get, because that's really where you're going to get all of the information.
All right, thank you. And we're going to leave it right there. And just the advice that I give teachers when I speak to teachers, and I do this on a regular basis, is just what Jackie just said. If you're going to have a Facebook page that children can get access to, Hillary, I tell teachers, make a class account, not your personal account, and don't let students on your personal page. And there's no reason to put on any social media a picture of you with no clothes on, or a bikini on, or drinking booze, or smoking pot. You put that on there, you're going to lose your job. It's just that simple.